Carl Coulange for the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans with another wrestling conversation / debate topic. Kudos to our team, Nick and TK and I, for developing some of these hot topics that wrestling fans and I just sit and just shoot a breeze about all the time. And for those who may wonder, how do we come up with topics? We're just wrestling historians, or we like to call ourselves, and just wrestling fans, and we just talk about these topics. So, never to win a world championship. That's the topic at hand, and I want to just set some ground rules so people understand. This isn't any promotion. A wrestler who never won the big prize, who never won the WWE Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, whatever that top title was in their company, any guy is eligible for this conversation. And it comes down to, did this person deserve it? Why didn't they win the championship? So, TK, let me ask you, when it comes to that conversation, who comes to mind that didn't win a world championship is the first guy you would say comes to your mind? Well,
the first guy that comes to my mind, and his picture is right there behind us, is Jake the Snake. When you think about, guys who, really innovated the sport and then just had it, he totally had it. I mean, when he would give promos, it was almost like you were looking at some kind of psychopath, serial killer. He was so cold and menacing. You talk about the man who invented the DDT. I mean, think about I know it's oversaturated and everyone uses it, but I mean, as a wrestling fan, the DDT it's a staple. You name 5 wrestling moves, you're naming the DDT. So he had that, and in 1987, he was scheduled to have a feud with Hulk Hogan. Now, Hogan won the title in 1984. He wouldn't relinquish the title until 1988. In 1987, fans, I mean, if you could think about it, Hogan right now had the title as long as Roman had it. Fans were ready for a change, and they were really rooting for Jake the Snake hard when Hogan and Snake started the program.
Especially the top heel, yeah.
So you know what happened, right? Hogan said, "I'm not. It doesn't work for me, brother," and they canceled the feud. So Jake never really got a chance to get that big rub to fight. Hogan be in the same ring with him in his prime, and that could have changed history. Jake could have been turned into a face and maybe won the title. But even after that, him bringing the Snake in, biting Macho Man, just so many great moments for Jake the Snake, but nothing that ended in world title glory for him.
Before we get into, you just gave me an idea for a new segment. Wrestling moves. We never discuss wrestling moves. Top 5 wrestling moves.
There you go. That's a great segment.
That's how we produce. But and speaking of that, there's so many lists of guys. I'm wearing the shirt, and I'm call me biased. But Ted DiBiase, in my opinion, could have got a title run as far as a heel and being the $1 Million Man. And I know he bought the championship for Andre in a sense, right? But he never really got his. I never thought he was a tag teamer. He never won. I don't know if he was ever an Intercontinental Champion, to my recollection. No. So he never really got a push as far as
he had his own championship.
He had his own championship, the $1 Million belt, right? He even had his own $1 Million dream. I thought Ted DiBiase was well and deserving. Roddy Piper, I thought he was one of the prime characters during that era. He could have got a world title match, and he never got it. And he was always a mid-carder. And why? And I think we kind of had that conversation as to why some of these guys, in the 80s at least, never got it is because of what? And again, Hogan, I'm not trying to make this I know one guy, shout out to my guy, Anthony Kowalski, he's going to say I'm a Hogan hater because he loves Hogan. But Hogan pinned down a lot of guys. And he did that in this prime where you're looking at some of these, there's a plethora of opportunities. I mean, you got Macho Man won the title, Ultimate Warrior got his championship opportunity, but could there have been more champions during the Hogan era? Would it have been that bad to step away from Hogan for a little bit and get one of these guys to win it?
I mean, personally, hindsight being 2020, I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think that if Hogan would have lost it to Ted DiBiase or someone and then been able to chase it another WrestleMania, that's always great. I mean, you think of WrestleMania 17, it's called one of the best WrestleManias of all time. Right up until basically the month before that pay-per-view, Kurt Angle had been holding that title for a long time. They changed it. No one says, there should be Kurt Angle's WrestleMania. It's a great WrestleMania match versus, Stone Cold versus The Rock. Yeah. So, I mean, same thing. Sergeant Slaughter took the title and Hogan beat him for it at WrestleMania 8. So why couldn't they do that with Piper or Snake?
Or even, I guess, even Undertaker got I think it was a one-day championship when he beat Hogan.
Yeah.
And then he ended up dropping it to him at like a Tuesday pay-per-view or main event.
More politicking from Hogan. Oh, he dropped me on my head, brother.
Yeah. But again, even if you want to talk the backstage politics, clearly Vince makes the decisions. I guess, did he trust in Hogan that he didn't want to piss Hogan off by, because Vince could have just made the call the audible and said, listen, you're losing, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? Was it you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you by telling him he has to drop the title?
I guess. I mean, To me, it's Vince McMahon, though. Like, I couldn't imagine Vince being afraid to tell someone something, you know? I don't know. What do you think? Do you
No,
think
but that's what I'm trying to ask myself is that when Vince has his mindset, listen, but again, maybe it's not, not killing the iron while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
Because then, giving it to a Jake the Snake who's a bad guy. What are you telling your fan base? Your fan base is feeding Hogan.
Yes.
Hogan's your top guy. He's your top seller. Him dropping the title. It's the same conversation we always have. Well, why didn't Cena go heel in prime Cena?
Yeah.
Your top babyface are you going to have? But Cena lost a few times. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. Why wasn't Hogan that guy to lose during his era? I guess he was too hot for him to lose. Another one of my favorites was Mr. Perfect, right? Mr. Perfect was in that Bret Hart mid-card in the 90s. He never really got pushed to main event status. Could he have been a world champion? We also talked about Scott Hall, right? In WCW, even in WWE, when he was Razor, he was mid-card. When he went over to WCW, why wasn't Scott Hall in the title picture, but Nash and Hogan were?
Yeah.
Like, so why wasn't Scott ever elevated to he didn't even get an opportunity? Because, again, I wasn't really a WCW guy, but Scott never really got the title.
No, he never really got the title. He was never seen as that guy for some reason, even though he had one of the best strikes in the business. If you go back and watch Scott Hall matches, man, his punches are just tight. And he looks good. He has the look. He has the attitude. You would think he'd be perfect, especially that big gold belt would have looked perfect on Scott Hall. But, he was, I guess, more than content to let Hogan and Nash have it. I mean, I've watched interviews with Scott Hall. I think that was more on Scott Hall not pushing, not politicking himself enough to get himself in that position. But he's definitely a guy that should have and could have definitely held the title. But when you have Hogan just constantly winning and constantly having the title, and even if he doesn't, Nash does, it's hard to leave space for other guys. That's why, when he went to WCW, Hogan's there. He's not the world champion. Maybe if he stayed in WWE as Razor Ramon, who knows what could have happened. He might have gotten a chance to hold the title because in that time, 96, 97, there wasn't really too many guys that were really drawing for WWE. It was a real low time for them. They had King Mabel versus Diesel in 1995.
That was Survivor Series, wasn't it?
No, King of the Ring or
King of the Ring, one of those.
Summer Series, Survivor Series, whatever.
He could have. The other guy that comes to mind, which I hate using this word, but for the sake of this segment, and you guys are my hit list contributors, pencil that I have to use it. You know what word I'm going to use. If Owen Hart didn't pass away.
Yes, Owen Hart, another guy.
Another guy, British Bulldog, rest his soul. Could he have been a world champion? There's a list of guys that you thought could have been to the next. And Bulldog got his chance against Shawn a few In Your House pay-per-views.
Yeah, and even in the
96.
2000s, Bulldog was in like a six-pack challenge for the WWE title, but it was, there's five other guys.
Yeah, so. But I think even now in this era, we see guys you would never think to be champion because of the fan, because of social media, because of this new era. Us as fans have advocated, like a Daniel Bryan, who we literally hijacked to make sure.
Yeah, we got him there.
Kofi Mania, right?
Yes,
so guys
Kofi.
we would never thought would be in that title picture
Yes.
are getting those opportunities now. Is there someone over the last few years who didn't win it or could have won it? Wouldn't say didn't get. But it feels like there's a variety of opportunities now in this era that you say, okay, they get their title shot. Like even Jinder Mahal, you wouldn't think he would got a title shot.
Exactly.
He's a
So
former WWE champion.
to me, from when WWE split the brands and then had two world champions, there were a lot of guys, that we saw get to have the title. Mark Henry, Kane got his real world title run. Christian got a real world title run. But there were guys that still didn't. And one of those guys to me, and I'm a big fan of his, so I may be a little biased, is William Regal. William Regal, he didn't even get to be ECW champion when he was feuding for that. He was supposed to, when he won King of the Ring in 2008, there was rumor that he would be the World Heavyweight Champion, but that didn't work out because of issues with him. He failed a drug test. So, that was his opportunity that he missed. But when you look at a guy who's had a long career, who is super impactful and still involved, it's kind of crazy that William Regal never got the chance to win it. And then even lesser than William Regal to me, another guy I think, because I'm trying to think outside the 80s, but Dustin Runnels, because you see Cody Rhodes, he has.
Yeah.
But Goldust wasn't really the character to win the title, but just the fact that he's still wrestling today in AEW, and he wrestled with WWE all the way up until he left for AEW, and was a constant figure in those promotions and beat all his demons. It's weird to me that he never even had like a world title match. I've never seen Goldust even get that opportunity.
Yeah, he was always held at the mid card, the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know. I guess it's not. Is it backstage politics? Is it these guys don't have what it takes to drive to get them to the World Championship? Are they better as mid-carders than not?
Yeah.
There's a lot of with the conversation about, politics plays a big part in who's going to get the title.
Oh, I know, that's
the numbers you love to use, like the pay-per-view buy rates, the selling of the the merchandise. That's your champion.
Yeah.
Clearly, which is why we saw Brock hold it for so long, because people were tuning in to see him.
Even just The Miz in 2010 when he won the title, he was only supposed to be a couple-week reign champ, kind of like Edge did when he won the Money in the Bank the first time. But the social media was so lit that actually let him carry the title to Mania and beyond.
Yeah.
Because he's The Miz and he's awesome and he's one of the
I'm
best
trying to think.
wrestlers of all time.
I think we covered most of the wrestlers that we thought. I saw your list saw Bam Bam Bigelow. I never thought Bam Bam Bigelow was a championship-worthy kind of person.
Well, I'm saying if there's 2 world titles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that time, could he have? I mean, he main evented WrestleMania with Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah,
He's one of the best big men to ever work.
During his era, there was only one. And again, during that fluff when Hogan left, right? I guess it was the new generation of stars. It was the Bret Hart, the Diesel, the Shawn, Yokozuna was able to get it. But then guess what? Yokozuna dropped it to Hogan at the worst WrestleMania at WrestleMania 9, and you're just like, what are we doing? Yoko's supposed to be the future, but then here comes Hogan to try to drop it. Like, I think once they got past that, it opened the door for some of the other extra people to get the title.
Yes.
Even The Undertaker, I thought he had a world title, but he had it in '97, but then he ended up dry. He didn't really never had a big run with it, as much as I thought he would, right? But at least he had it. But I think, for me, Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, those are your time. Clearly, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake.
Those are your kind of top 5. And they're all from the 80s. And they're either other guys from the 80s. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who was in the main event of the very first WrestleMania. He was teaming with Roddy Piper. He was hugely over in that time period. And if it was today, he'd be seen as one of the top 5-6 guys, and he would be considered a world title run. Even before that, if you go way back, Big John Studd, another big guy who could,
Greg the Hammer Valentine.
And you mentioned Owen Hart, another rest in peace, gone too early. Brody Lee in AEW. His path, you never would have thought Luke Harper. Now, we saw Luke Harper. We wanted him. I don't know about you. I wanted him to be in that WrestleMania 33 title match with Bray and Randy, but WWE never had that faith in him. And you saw AEW kind of putting him and giving him that push. So, gone too soon. But Brody Lee's another guy, I think, who is definitely world championship material.
You guys tell us, who do you believe should have won a WWE or World Heavyweight Championship? Leave a comment, like, share, comment, and subscribe to All Hit List content. We'll see you next time.